Why do most businesses fail? You probably think it's because of a bad product, a lazy founder, or some huge obvious mistake. But what if I told you a business can fail because it did everything right? In fact, if you're building something right now, there's a good chance you're remaking the exact same right mistake that nearly destroyed this one. Let me tell you about Daniel. Daniel wasn't your typical failed entrepreneur. He wasn't lazy, he wasn't careless, he wasn't dishonest. He was the opposite. He poured his heart and soul into creating the best product on the market. His software was cleaner, had more features, and offered way better support than any of his competitors. He did everything by the book. He built something genuinely superior. 5 years later, he was still barely scraping by. Watching in frustration as businesses with objectively worse products were scaling up and leaving him in the dust. He was stuck in a nightmare where being better meant losing. So what went wrong? Why was Daniel, with his superior product, failing while others succeeded? It all came down to a single, dangerous belief he held, a belief that many of us share. Daniel was convinced that if it's better, people will notice. But they didn't. And it's not because customers are stupid. It's because customers are busy. They are overwhelmed with choices every single day. They don't have the time or energy to meticulously research every option to find the absolute best one. They don't look for the best option. They choose the clearest one. The one that solves their problem with the least amount of mental effort. That's where Daniel lost. His competitors weren't better, but they were clearer. And in the battle for a customer's attention, clarity always wins. Here is the uncomfortable truth that most founders do and want to hear. The market doesn't reward quality. It rewards clarity. People don't buy the best product. They buy the product they can understand in 3 seconds or less. Think about it. When you're scrolling online or walking through a store, what catches your eye? It's the simple, direct message that instantly clicks. Daniel was building for logic. He had spreadsheets and feature lists to prove he was the best. His competitors, they were selling to perception. They focused on one simple promise and hammered it home, making it incredibly easy for customers to say, "Ah, I get it. That's for me." While Daniel was trying to win a debate, his competitors were winning hearts and minds. So how do you avoid this trap? Requires flipping your entire approach upside down. Let us start with the first piece of reverse thinking. Dante, start with the product. Most people follow this path. Build first, then figure out how to sell it later. You spend months, maybe years, perfecting your creation in a vacuum. The winners do the exact opposite. They sell first, then build around the demand. They don't start by asking, "Is this a good product?" That's the wrong question. They ask, "Is someone already so frustrated with a problem that they'd be willing to pay for a solution right now?" If you can't find that pre-existing pain, you don't have a customer. If you don't have a customer, you don't have a business. No pain, no payment, no business. It's that simple. Here's the second reverse thinking strategy. Lose customers on purpose. Daniel, in his quest to build the best product, tried to please everyone, added features for this user, tweaked the design for that one. The result? His message became diluted, his brand became generic, and he was ultimately forgettable. Strong, memorable brands do the complete opposite. They are exclusive. They deliberately choose a very narrow audience with one specific problem and craft one single, powerful message just for them. They're perfectly okay with letting everyone else walk away. In fact, that's the goal. If you try to be for everybody, you end up being for nobody. If everyone kind of likes your brand, it means no one loves it, and no one will remember it when it's time to buy. And the third, and perhaps most challenging, piece of reverse thinking, profit comes last. When beginners look at a business opportunity, the first question they ask is, how much profit does this make? It's a natural question, but it's the wrong one to start with. Experienced builders ask a different question. What does this unlock? They understand that in the early stages, you're not just trading a product for money. You're making strategic trades. They willingly accept low margins, or even temporary losses, in exchange for things that are far more valuable long-term, precious customer data, market attention, and a powerful strategic position. They know that profit isn't the starting point of the journey. Profit is the consequence of getting everything else right first. It's the reward you earn, not the prize you claim at the beginning. So what happened to Daniel? When he finally had this shift in thinking, everything changed. But he didn't start working harder. In fact, he worked less on the product and more on the message. He simplified. He focused. Stopped trying to look smart and prove how great his product was, and he started trying to be understood. He identified his ideal customer, focused on their single biggest pain point, and crafted a message so clear it was impossible to ignore. And that's when things finally started to move. The business didn't just survive, it began to thrive. If your business feels stuck, if you're working hard but not seeing results, it might not be that your product is broken or that you're not trying hard enough. You might just be thinking the same way everyone else does. And in business, following the crowd is the surest path to getting lost in it. Thinking differently isn't the risky move. In today's market, it's the only way forward. Thanks for watching, and if this helped, be sure to follow for more.